In this video, we're going to start the Parallel Lines and Transversals worksheet on the KutaSoftware website under the Geometry tab. This is a free worksheet provided by KutaSoftware, and I'll leave a link in the description below so that you know where to find this. Our initial directions are to identify each pair of angles as either corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, or consecutive interior. Let's go over the definition for each of these four really quickly. So corresponding angles are on the same side of the transversal, which is the line that crosses over usually the parallel lines, and they are also on the same side of those intersected lines, whether that's both above or both below their respective lines. Alternate interior those angles are on opposite sides of the transversal, and they're in between or inside the intersected lines. Alternate exterior are opposite sides of the transversal, just like alternate interior, except now these are also outside of the intersected lines. And finally, consecutive interior. And consecutive interior angles are on the same side of the transversal and in between or inside of the intersected lines. So let's start by looking at number 1. In number 1, we're looking at angles X and Y. Here's our transversal. So X and Y are on the same side of the transversal. They're both to the right of it. So they will either be corresponding angles, because that's same side, or they will be consecutive interior, because that's also the same side of the transversal. Alternate interior and alternate exterior are both opposite, so we know that we're not dealing with those. So it's either corresponding or consecutive interior. However, they are both on the same side of those intersected lines. They are both above. Therefore, they are corresponding angles. Our other option that we had left was consecutive interior, and for that to be consecutive interior, it would need to be in between, which Y is not in between those lines. Therefore, they are corresponding angles. Looking at number 2, X and Y are on opposite sides of the transversal. X is to the left and Y is to the right. So they're either going to be alternate interior or alternate exterior. However, both X and Y are outside of the intersected lines. So here would be in between the intersected lines. However, X and Y fall outside of that. Therefore, they are alternate exterior. And number 3, angles X and angle Y are on the same side of the transversal, and they're both on the same side of the intersected line. They're both below the intersected line. So we have the same side of the transversal and the same side of the intersected line, means that X and Y are corresponding angles. And number 4, X and Y are both to the right of the transversal, so they are on the same side of the transversal, and they are also both inside or in between the intersected lines. Therefore, they are consecutive interior angles. And number 5, we can see that X and Y are on opposite sides of the transversal, and they are both inside or in between the intersected lines. Therefore, they are alternate interior angles. For number 6, X and Y, again, are on opposite sides of the transversal. Y is to the left, X is to the right. However, as opposed to being in between, they are outside of those intersected lines. Therefore, they are alternate exterior angles. Now number 7 is a bit different because they're throwing in excessive or extra lines into our diagram that we do not need to focus on. The lines we're looking at will be the lines that help form angles x and y, and that transversal that also helps form angles x and y. So we're looking at this line, and then finally our transversal. From this, you can see that both x and y are on opposite sides of the transversal, where this line is our transversal, and they're both interior or in between our intersected lines. So in number 7, x and y are alternate interior angles. Let's look at which lines we need to focus on. Angles y and x are formed by this transversal and these two lines. Now you can see that x and y are on opposite sides of the transversal, and they are outside of the lines intersected. Therefore, they are alternate exterior angles. Moving on to number 9, angles y and angles x are on the same side of the transversal, and they are also both in between those intersected lines. Therefore, they are consecutive interior angles. And the last problem for this set of directions, number 10. We're looking at angles x and angles y, and you can see that they are on the same side of the transversal. They are also on the same side of those lines intersected. They are both below the intersected lines. Therefore, they are corresponding angles. For numbers 11 through 18, we are to find the measure of each angle indicated. But before we start that, I have a few important facts about our 4 previous definitions. Corresponding angles, since they are on the same side of the transversal and they are on the same side of the intersected line, they are going to be congruent and therefore equal in measure. For alternate interior angles, because they are on opposite sides of the transversal and in between or inside of the intersected lines, alternate interior angles are also congruent. Alternate exterior angles, just like alternate interior and corresponding angles, those will also be congruent. However, consecutive interior angles, since they are on the same side of the transversal and both in between the intersected lines, you can see visually that they will not be congruent. However, they will add up or sum to be 180 degrees. And these measurements are true if the intersected lines are parallel. So looking at number 11, you can see that the intersected lines are indeed parallel. We can also note that the angle indicated and 110 degrees are opposite sides of the transversal and both outside of those intersected lines. Therefore, they are alternate exterior angles. Alternate exterior angles are congruent when the intersected lines are parallel. Therefore, the indicated angle is 110 degrees. Moving on to number 12, the indicated angle forms an alternate interior angle with 84 degrees. Since they are on opposite sides of the transversal, but both inside the intersected lines. And since the intersected lines are parallel, therefore the alternate interior angles are equal in measure. So 84 degrees is equal to the indicated angle. And number 13, the indicated angle is on the same side of the transversal as 100 degrees, and they are also both in between or inside of the intersected line. So we know right away that they are consecutive interior angles. And because the intersected lines are parallel, we can say that consecutive interior angles are equal to 180 degrees. So 100 degrees plus our question mark, let's just call this x, is going to be equal to 180 degrees. When we subtract 100 degrees from both sides of the equation, we get that x, or our indicated angle, is equal to 80 degrees. So 80 degrees is the solution in number 13. In number 14, we know that the intersected lines are parallel, and the indicated angle forms an alternate interior angle with 111 degrees. Therefore, the indicated angle also measures to be 111 degrees. In number 15, the indicated angle and 125 degrees are on opposite sides of the transversal. However, they are both interior to the intersected lines. Therefore, they are alternate interior angles. And because the intersected lines are parallel, that means that the indicated angle is going to be equal to 125 degrees. In number 16, my indicated angle is on opposite sides of the transversal than the 47 degrees. And they are both outside of the intersected lines. Therefore, they are alternate exterior angles. And we know that the intersected lines are parallel. Therefore, 47 degrees is the measure of the indicated angle. In number 17, my angles are both on the same side of the transversal and they are both on the same side of the intersected line. 53 degrees and the angle indicated are both below. Therefore, they are corresponding angles, and we know that since the lines are parallel, corresponding angles are congruent. Therefore, the angle indicated is also equal to 53 degrees. And lastly, number 18. 113 forms an alternate interior angle with the indicated angle. Since the lines are indeed parallel, then we know that those alternate interior angles are equal in measure. Therefore, 113 degrees is our solution in number 18. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give me a thumbs up for this video. Also, subscribe to my channel. That way you can be updated when I upload new videos. Also, if you're still confused on the definitions that we went over in this video, go to my tutorial section where I go further in depth with the definitions and why those angles are congruent or why they add up to 180 degrees. So if you're curious, go ahead and check that out. And join me in the next video where I'll finish out this worksheet.